The FTC is launching an inquiry into AI chatbots acting as companions. History was made when the first human hugged himself through a virtual robot. Surprisingly more profound than I would have thought. I mean, if you think about it, we could have a bunch of robots that are literally clones of us walking around our house. Imagine a company that's just all Elon Musk cloning himself. Potentially coming soon. This American went to China to try on new sports-assisted legs. Running, climbing, walking is just gonna be like sitting in the near future with these new robotic legs. This guy thinks he's getting rich on Twitch with new deepfake technology. Tell me in the comments, do you think he's gonna get rich, or it's not gonna play out the way he thinks? President Trump signs the Take It Down Act. This is a new act that addresses non-consensual deepfakes. So just to make it clear, the Tesla Roadster, the Bugatti, the Americans do not make the fastest legal car. That now goes to China. This is a new electric car. The Yangwang U9 Extreme broke the speed record, 308 miles per hour. You can buy one now. The Holy Grail of physics has been crossed. Scientists have now captured the first ever X-ray of a single atom. OpenAI unveiled plans for essentially limitless growth. We're talking about the kind of power that's going to overtake India soon. You know, $1 trillion build out here, another $1 trillion build out there. Who's counting at this point? Comedian Bobby Lee just jumped into the AI conversation and shared his fears for why AI is going to cripple the Hollywood industry. The new research showing that the amount of information that AI is creating is going faster than expected. It is dwarfing humans already. I'm going to break down how 18 billion messages a week are being created by ChatGPT and OpenAI systems. 3 weeks ago, vibe coding was the future. Now vibe coding is dead. Devanish has some really interesting insights, not just about the real question around China and Taiwan, but actually, what is sovereignty? But first, let's head on over to Alan's conservative countdown to AGI, where we had 95. That is a tick up. We have been stuck at 94 for a while. Why did Alan push the AGI countdown even closer? Well, that would be because of Gemini Robotics' new agentic system. Have you been wondering whether AI will ever replace 3D artists? Well, the new Hitem3D 1.5 update just dropped, and it takes AI 3D generation to a whole new level with just one click. You're getting insanely detailed geometry. Think game-ready models straight out of an image. There is now this new Pro mode at 1536 resolution for extra crisp detail, plus a budget-friendly mode if all you want to do is test an idea really quickly. Now, I tried it on this very complex, high-precision gaming character, and also on an in-game item like this pickaxe. And I can't wait to see her come to life. So I'll be using the newest version, V1.5, and I'm going to be using the highest detail, 1536p, and yeah, why not throw in some textures on that? And hit generate. Oh my gosh, this character looks absolutely amazing. I didn't even give it a photograph of her back. How did it get so much human detail with her shoulder and her hips and the back of her legs? What? How did it know to make her the right thickness and everything? Dude, I'm legit blown away. The textures are sharper, the colors match perfectly, and you can even generate from different angles with multi-view support. And with all these file formats, you can literally drop it straight into Blender or Unreal Engine. So if you're into 3D art, game development, or even just curious about where AI-created tools are headed, you've got to go check out Hitem3D. This 1.5 model is incredible. I'll leave a link in the description. Seriously, play around with it. This one is worth exploring. And thank you to Hitem3D for sponsoring this video. And now let's get into even more crazy, futuristic AI news. All right, so we're looking at Gemini Robotics 1.5. And especially its embodied reasoning vision system that has been added. It's called GRER 1.5. It is being pitched as a huge leap forward in robotics intelligence. It acts like essentially a high-level brain for robots, so it can do coordination tasks, it can understand the space that it's in, it can speak naturally. I mean, it's not just multimodal, it's just almost like human. Like, it has all of the same kind of understanding that you would expect like a human to have as they move around a space. Inside its own head, it has this whole ability to estimate its own progress, and it's even calling external tools when needed. So what makes it powerful is that it doesn't just understand instructions, it can translate them into real-world robotic actions across different hardware. from humanoids to dual arm machines without retraining. I mean, now you're starting to get into this world where Gemini is maybe in the air around you. You're talking, it might be picked up through this phone's microphone or the microphone on your refrigerator. It might be able to open a fridge door, drive a car, like a toaster, a drone, a humanoid robot that's in your house. Like, the same system is dealing with all these physical modalities and different modalities digitally, like sensors and whatnot. But I mean, now we're just talking about this superhuman ASI lives in the walls and the world around us, and it's continually being updated. And it's the beginning. This Gemini Robotics 1.5 thing is just a step really towards a much bigger story that's playing out. Do you think it's a little weird the way, like, so human, the way that it looks up at him and then looks back down at the object? Look at how fast it is.
And it's completely end-to-end. The thoughts and the actions are interleaved. I can see it running in person, which is really cool.
Down here. Back down to it. Seems eerie to me, but powerful. All right, next up, the FTC has just announced it's launching an inquiry into AI chatbot designs that are meant to act as companions. So they're going to be like digging into how they're being marketed, how the business models work, and whether or not they're creating a risk like emotional manipulation, privacy issues, or misleading claims. Now, the commission is sending information demands to several companies to better understand how these tools work and how they might impact consumers, especially vulnerable groups like kids and teens. And to be clear, the FTC is explicitly flagging the risk of chatbots forming, quote, emotional bonds with users that could be exploited for profit. I'm super happy about that. It always raises a big ethical question. Even if we say, okay, it's a business model that builds a connection and we accept it, we should at least look into it, kind of understand how people can have their feelings manipulated, the powerful studies that they might find when you do this across like an entire country, how that could easily shape things like politics and buying habits. At least put that out there so teachers and people can be aware of it, if nothing else. And then maybe even take regulation or actions to make it so that companies can't manipulate us through emotional bonds. All right, so this caught me off guard. I was just, scrolling through my TikTok reels like always, and I was like, oh, he's hugging himself because he's holding a VR unit, which is connected to a humanoid robot. So from his point of view, he sees himself with the glasses on. And when he opens his arms, you can see everything is being mirrored. And you can essentially, because the heights are different, come in without your hands bumping and hug yourself, which is sort of weird, but kind of interesting. It's sometimes you got to give yourself a hug. It's like talking to yourself in your brain, saying like, you got this, like, I trust you. Oh, don't put your hands up like that, bro. He's going to hit your armpits. But anyway, I mean, looks a little too romantic to me. But anyway, the point is, imagine if you do have a digital twin, like an avatar that has pretty much learned everything you've learned, that knows the things you know, that thinks the way you do, and then you just clone it a bunch. So maybe on your computer, you have like 10 versions of you helping you like sort your, life out, like do your calendars and your homework, and then some physical ones that have the same interests in you. So they'll clean your house or fix your car or whatever the kind of things you need done in your life. All right, so what do you think about this? This guy, creator Christian Grossel, he is putting on legs, like robotic legs. So it's an exoskeleton and it moves for him. So walking backwards, walking forward, it's using an AI trained model that's learned how real legs work from a data set of people walking in the exoskeleton, trained on it. So now it can do it pretty cheaply. So $1,000 if you want to buy these things. You can rent it for $22,000 and you can just run and walk with, I guess the way he describes it, he's sort of sitting in kind of like a wheelchair, I guess, in the sense like where you don't feel that pressure. The legs are moving, but they're like somebody else is grabbing them. Listen how much fun he's having.
Can we put like maximum power?
The max power?
Yeah, max power.
Are you sure?
Yeah. I don't know if this is a good idea. Bro, how does it feel?
It's like doing nothing. This is the max power.
Max power.
Walking carefully.
Okay. Can I run or no? Run? Guys, the robot wants to move by itself. Okay. Oh, it's moving for me. I'm not walking. I am not walking.
What?
This is literally the future. I'm running with a robot. This is
2 weeks ago, America. Where are you from?
America.
America. Oh, America. An American woman buy it.
She bought it.
She bought it.
How much does this cost?
It cost about $915.
Bro, that's way cheaper than I thought it would be.
Are you excited for robotic legs? In some situations, for some people, that's helpful. I don't know. Just weird, but I'll get used to it. Bro thinks he found the infinite money glitch. Evolving.ai uploaded this video. Someone is going to become rich on Twitch pretty soon. What do you think about the deep fake quality? Hand looks pretty much the same. Obviously, face and body have changed, but seem to be moving properly, including the headphones and glasses, which, you know, pretty surprising, but just more evidence that we have sort of crossed the uncanny valley. This is Alibaba's WAN 2.2 animate in action, replacing the actor in full video. It is over, they say. What are your thoughts? Finally, men can earn money as well. Okay. With voice too, it won't just be Twitch. This is amazing. Yeah, now imagine doing this with multiple skins, multiple backgrounds, filters. A single person could be 10 channels simultaneously. That's kind of a weird thought. All right, so the Take It Down Act has now officially been signed. This is a new law that is targeting explicit deepfake images and video. The act lets people quickly demand the removal of sexually explicit AI-generated content featuring them. So even if the images are fake, lawmakers say that it's meant to protect people, especially women, from exploitation, though critics worry that it could clash with First Amendment rights and be misused to censor legitimate expression. To me, it's kind of like obvious, makes sense, might as well write it down. And interestingly, it was actually reported that this entire law was inspired by a deepfake video of Melania Trump. So this makes it one of the first federal laws that have been shaped directly by a personal experience from a first lady. BYD is blowing my mind. I mean, I was shocked when they started kind of overtaking Tesla in many different ways, but even on the high end, I thought that the Tesla Roadster would be safe. Nope, this is EV sub-brand of BYD. It is called the Yangwang, and it just smashed the global top speed record. The U9 Extreme hypercar hit 308 miles per hour. So the fastest that was out there before was a Bugatti. It was at 304 miles. But keep in mind, going 5 or 4 more miles faster at that speed is actually a big deal because wind resistance becomes like a significant thing. So it takes a lot more power to go like every mile per hour faster. But they did this in Germany's ATP test track. And also the other record was set on a straightaway. So the fact that it's braking and speeding up again also shows that it's got the sort of acceleration to that speed that really no other car in the world has. Maybe some electric cars get close, but not getting to that same top speed. And the U9X not only surpassed its own previous EV benchmark, but it beat the fastest petrol-powered car ever, officially becoming the world's quickest production car. Basically, they did it by creating a battery that has a huge discharge rate. 4 insanely fast motors are on each of the 4 tires. 30,000 RPM motors are pumping out over 3,000 horsepower. And then they've got that specialized suspension that you remember they were kind of showing off about a year ago. So yeah, there's only going to be 30 of these cars ever made. It's going to be very rare, very expensive, but you know, mind-blowing speed, 0 emissions. It's wild that we have this kind of technology right now. All right, I think you're gonna find this one pretty wild. So there's always a problem when you use something like a microscope, right? Especially like, you know, the big ones like you had back there, like that uses light, and light is a wave, and it's, you know, the crest and peak of the wave is bigger than a single atom, so there's a certain zoom that you can't get to. But scientists have now, for the first time ever, used X-ray techniques to analyze a single atom. Now, they had to do something pretty innovative and clever here, because the previous limits on X-ray microscopes needed tens of thousands of atoms to get a signal. But what they did is they combined a synchrotron X-ray with a scanning tunneling microscope style detector. And then together, they were able to pick up on electron tunneling from atoms when excited And that allowed them to essentially snap a photograph of a single atom. And they can prove it because in their demonstration, you can blindly give them a photo of an atom and it can tell you whether or not it's an iron or some other element on the periodic table. So there's signs of what it's photographed that are actually able to be correlated to the known universe, and that means this thing works. And it can even give insight into the chemical state that the atom is in when it's photographed. So the fact that we can now detect an atom's elemental identity and chemical state using this new X-ray technique at the atomic scale, this bridges long-standing gaps between imaging and chemical analysis, and it could open up an entirely new possibility in material sciences, nanotechnology, and quantum devices. That's why they're calling it the, quote, holy grail of physics. Big deal. So what you're looking at here is a photograph that's only 1 nanometer. This is so tiny, and it's an image of a ring of iron molecules, but only the iron molecules are being shown. You can see that structure and that shape. It does kind of, look like those sort of things you would see in a physics textbook, but it's an X-ray signature from just 1 iron atom. How crazy is that? We're talking about a Central Park-sized complex and 5 of them built across the country. The first phase is already packing 8 data centers, and each one's got 6,000 daily construction workers at them. The first building is stuffed with NVIDIA GB200s. That huge partnership with Oracle is going down. Long-term vision tops 20 gigawatts, just OpenAI's ChatGPT. Holy cow. So like Michael posts about this chart that OpenAI set out was OpenAI is planning to use more energy than the UK or Germany in just 5 years and more than India in 8 years. And it's just one company. And you know that Elon and Google and Meta are not going to just let them run away with this. Like they're all going to be competing at this level. And there's other huge companies in China that are pushing their infrastructure to its limits also. But yeah, as much energy as they're using, OpenAI planning to 125x energy capacity in 8 years. This would mean using more than India's energy capacities today.
Showbiz is done.
Well, I don't think it's done.
Look at me right now. It's done.
I need good sound. I need good production value. I need good makeup.
Are you scared though about AI? Because I just had a meeting with a big company, and they're like, "We're developing a show primarily AI. But you want to use your voice and your likeness."
Yeah.
And I'm like, it was like a real credible company, and I was like, I got scared. I'm like, wow, it's coming, and it's. In a year from now, it'll be completely...
Well, commercials, photography, you won't need any of it.
None of it.
So I feel bad for them.
Yeah. Also, dude, it's like with robotics and all that stuff, 5 years, what are people going to do?
I know. You won't need actors.
I know, but but when it replaces accountants and all these other jobs, what are people in this country on this planet going to do?
I feel like it's maybe a bad analogy, but I'm one of those guys who wants to keep umpires in the game because sometimes they make bad calls, but most of the time they're fine. And it's character.
But is corporations going to want to put umpires still in the game? I don't think so.
But they're trying to put these machines in the baseball where it's just then there's no discrepancy. It's a strike, it's a ball.
Yeah.
You know what you're going to get. It's perfect. I like a little imperfections. I'm imperfect.
Yeah, but companies don't have to pay.
That
the AI or the robot, they have to pay.
So I don't know if you looked at your ChatGPT recently, but have you seen this thing called Pulse? It's now helping me find articles to talk to you guys about. I just collect it in a big document and I sit down and I organize it and then I come make these videos for you. But now I'm starting to play with Pulse. And one of the more interesting ways to curate wasn't like a Google search. See this button where it says, I'm curious about? Obviously, Dylan Curious needed to say to it what I'm curious about, which felt so much more natural than typing in something like AI news or quantum mechanic breakthroughs or just going to other websites. So here I could say I'm curious about how artificial intelligence and biotechnology are coming together, and it didn't even give me anything. It just said, okay, got it, thanks for sharing, I'll remember that and hopefully give you some better stuff tomorrow. It was like, I don't know. I'm still keeping an eye on this Pulse thing. I think it's only been out for a couple days, but I'm finding it pretty interesting, and it might impact the kind of articles I find for these videos, so I'll let you know if it's great. All right, so OpenAI's ChatGPT has reached a staggering 18 billion messages per week. This is the most widely used communication tool in the world. I mean, if this is true, so it's surpassing the combined weekly interactions of teachers, therapists, and editors, with over 700 million people now relying on AI to learn, for health questions, for emotional support. The technology is rapidly becoming a new kind of public utility. So just to give you a breakdown, 10% of the messages are tutoring. That's about 1.8 billion weekly interactions. Health and self-care is another huge one, about 1 billion weekly inquiries. A lot more people using it for programming needs than I expected, about 4.2%. Creative ideation, is that what I use it? That's kind of what I use it for, I guess, with these videos. I use it a lot for summaries. So yeah, editing and writing support. I think I'm mostly in this top group here. I do use it for health. I've been like, hey, you know, I got this bruise on my ankle. I was like, hey, how bad is this? Like, is it a torn ligament? Is it a bruise? I don't even remember it happening. Walked me through all of that. But yeah, creative ideation, 702 million weekly. Personal reflection, I do some of this, 342 million. And like this article says, there's one thing that is clear: intelligence has become abundant. All right, so vibe coding, which barely felt like it came onto the radar, is over now. I mean, according to this author, Matt Marshall, prompting an AI for snippets of code is basically being replaced by agentic swarm coding. This is the concept where multiple AI agents collaborate like a software team to produce full production-ready systems at unprecedented speeds. Now, I haven't quite played around with it, and the people that have been vibe coders that I've seen so far are still kind of using it, like jumping into different hats at different times, prompting it in different ways, but you know, long-term planning sitting on top of a swarm of AI agents does feel like we should expect it to be the future. And I think some of the more advanced people are catching on to this before the rest of us. So that's why I want to share it with you. So AI agents can build, fully test, document, and deploy enterprise apps now, I guess. Advances in foundation models like GPT-5 and Claude 4 allow smart agent architectures, and that's really where the magic is right now. That is where skilled human oversight is starting to go. So agentic engineers are fueling this leap, turning what once took months of code into just hours. So yeah, if you're thinking about building a company with AI, there's no longer a reason to just think of them as tools that can build prototypes. If you want to start to try to build production-grade software, like things like CI and CD pipelines, the integration with security baked in, there are now agentic workflows that try to do this. Like, I don't know how much we can trust them yet, but it seems like some people are getting pretty close. So if you want to skate to where the puck is going, that's probably the kind of company you should be building right now. All right, let's talk about an article by Devonish, the real question around China and Taiwan. Actually, the main catch of the article wasn't what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about this kind of idea about the future that really caught me, where sovereignty isn't land. Guns, germs, and steel always kind of told me about how the world kind of really works. And the idea that we can own a piece of land just seems so important for freedom. And then from that, you get this idea of governments, and they sort of own territory, and the people in them are the actors that follow the rules that are set by the government, and government and, you know, citizens interact in different ways, more democracy or more authoritarian, depending on where you are in the world. But it does sort of feel like when we stopped buying things, like you don't own a physical book anymore that is in your house, which is on a piece of land, but you have access to the book on a Kindle. What does it really matter what piece of land you're on? It's like you're taking away the power of owning things when everything's in a digital economy. And it does sort of slowly make me think, oh, is that not going to matter in the future? Like, are we going to pretend we're free because, you know, we own our piece of land? But, you know, everybody in power knows that they have control over all the things that you actually want in your life. And realistically, that piece of land could be over, you know, just some robots or police can go in there and take that whenever they want. So they'll just kind of let you pretend you own it, even though you really don't have the kind of freedom that you think you do. So he says in here, and it's kind of done through this sort of lens of Taiwan, but who truly holds sovereignty when it's flow, not borders, that dictate survival? So if a state can be bankrupt overnight by a capital fight, by a strangled supply chain, choke point, or digitally isolated from platform bans, can it still claim sovereignty in any meaningful sense? We talk about nations as autonomous actors, but aren't they increasingly tenants in a world where the landlords are dollar liquidity, semiconductors, and network protocols? If so, should sovereignty be redefined just not as control of land, but as control of flows? What are the new structures of power that are native to our world, and how do we take advantage of them? That is the question. The rise of narratives. And I kind of agree with this. I didn't notice this sort of slip away, but it seems like major decisions everywhere are just pushed by narratives. I feel like, doesn't it feel like everything is propaganda? Like, how can we guard ourselves against a narrative economy when everyone who publishes everywhere always has an agenda behind their publications? You know, and then there's some stuff up here about game theory and like strategy of war, sort of like how time itself has become the most powerful weapon in modern strategy. Basically just saying like, just sit there and kind of like slowly eat away at things until people like run out of money or patience or attention or whatever it is. You just kind of win in the long run. But yeah, something sort of struck me about landlords, like not actually owning land being as important as it did up until the modern world. That was kind of this fundamental thing I think I've always just thought was holding true, and now I'm kind of questioning. Hit that hype button on mobile if you appreciate content like this. The hype button is more important than the like, the share, the comments, even more than going to my Patreon and giving me money. I would love to break out as a hype channel, because you have to have a small 25 subscriber channel like I do, 25,000 subscriber channel, and then disproportionately I get more hype points, so it allows me to kind of compete more with the bigger channels. So if there's anything you can do, hit hype. If you use the word hype even in a comment just to like spread awareness, I'm making a point to go in there and like try to reply to everybody who uses the word hype, even if it takes me a couple days. But I really think this hype game might be a chance for me to get to like 100K subscribers, and that would be awesome. So yeah, hype this video, and thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts, if you don't have the hype button below, on what you think about sovereignty and land ownership and digital rights or anything else from this video. I love having a great conversation down there. See you soon.